This interview with Elwood Oliver is part of the Orillia Heritage Centre's Oral History series, designed to create a record of those who worked in Orillia during its industrial heyday. Elwood's father founded A.H. Oliver Machinery, which operated on the south side of North Street, west of what was then the railway tracks and is now the trail. It was close to where Elwood's home on Coney Street is today. This interview took place at Elwood's home in January 2013. Also present was Elwood's friend Charlie Udell and Mary Gerard and Philip Jackman of the Heritage Centre.
This is for this Heritage Centre, and we like to go and talk to people such as yourself who are in business and have a long standing history in town, and just get the scoop of what your business was. And
it was very big.
that's okay,
sure.
but it doesn't matter because it's all part of the composite of town.
We built big machinery, but I never had any more than 10 or 15 people. At the very most, one day I saw there's 15 people getting paid. I had too many.
So what was the name of your company?
A.H. Oliver Machinery Incorporated.
A.H. Oliver Machinery, okay.
See, my brother and I were partners,
Okay.
and he got electrocuted up in the shop there.
Ooh, really?
Right.
Yeah, and I,
What year?
on April 3rd, 1979, at 20 minutes after 3,
Oh my.
I was sitting in the office, and all of a sudden this guy comes tearing down. He says, your brother has been electrocuted. You know, I thought he meant he touched a wire and he got knocked out or something. I don't in the wide world. He's 5 years younger than me.
Yeah.
But my brother Max was a practical joker. I mean, this end of the town around here, people, you didn't know what's going to happen to you next around here.
The guys in the shop, when I was on my holidays, I used to work in the bank.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford to go anywhere. So I'd wind up here. And the guys in the shop would hand me $10 to get Max to heck out of the shop for the day. Especially if he was annoying them.
Father always said, don't borrow money off a bank. Don't have anything to do with banks. He signed a demand note when he was young.
Yeah.
And he didn't know what a demand note was, and he found out. But Dad was born in 1878, and he spent the first years as a kid. He was born in Longford Mills. He came in here and went to high school at the Orillia Collegiate till he got through there. And then I guess he had to stick around the farm, but he was not. He's always kind of an enterpriser, entrepreneur, and he he bought a sawmill. I don't know. Some things I don't know. I never know how I ever met Mom. I don't know how he ever how he got into this sawmill business. I sure heard him telling everybody else how he got him to don't deal with the bank business, because that's when he got to the sawmill. They came in one day and said to him, your machinery's old junky stuff, you know, you're always tying it up and fixing it up and making it do. He said, I can't afford you more than that. This is the bank manager going around looking for business.
Yeah.
Well, he said, I'm just here to help you. Yeah, he helped him all right. He got Dad to send the whole sawmill down to Orillia Oliver Long, which was E-Long Limited then. He overhauled it, and it cost him $1,200, which was a big fortune in those days. And Dad had probably the best mill around here at the time. But see, a portable mill in those days was not portable like we think of it today, where you sell the wheels and you toot it around. You don't toot what he had around. It was, you needed a place 100 feet wide, long, and 20, 30 feet, 40, 50 feet wide. But he got into that. With the portable mill, he just never put a roof over it because he needed to take this thing down and move it to another location. There's trees everywhere in those days.
Oh, he just moved to where the trees were?
He moved to where the trees were.
Oh, very interesting.
See, after he really quit the lumber business after he got married. It was about 1918. He took all the Cedar Island used to be all cedar trees.
Yeah.
And Andrew Tate owned that down there. And Andrew Tate was kind of a rich guy in Orillia, I think, at that time. And Andrew Tate got Dad somehow or other to move his mill right in there. But it was Dad. I didn't even know that Dad had a shingle mill early, but he had a shingle mill. He moved his shingle mill. So he moved the shingle mill right onto the island down here, and I guess he must have the sawmill there too. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. But he cut up all the trees on the island there, and that Andrew Tate had all his lumber, and I don't know what happened to the island. I guess it wasn't very valuable then. I guess it is now. Anybody had it? Then that was in the 1980, and he'd move around take his whole sawmill to different locations. He puts up, so on. But I think he got tired of this moving around business, and then by then he got married and he started having his own kids. So I guess he wanted to be around here. So he looked for a place to buy, to locate, and this, I don't know how he got this. He was going to buy that place next to the power plant down here on the lake, and he couldn't make his mind up what he wanted. It was right on the lake, but he didn't particularly want the lake. So he built this shop.
So that was, let's say, around the 1920s.
20s, yes.
That
The company started in the 20s.
Yeah.
Dad really got into machinery.
As a machinery rather than lumber.
Yeah,
Right.
he went from lumber to machinery in 1920.
What types of machinery did he start with?
To build?
Yes.
So
yeah,
he knew about sawmill machines, so he started making it.
Yeah.
But he started with a shop. He built the first part of that. That shop was just one after another piece.
Yeah.
It started with this was the main part there, just this little bit there in the middle there was the main part. That's all there was when he started. We thought it was a big place, but just that. Then we put this addition on, then we put this addition on, and he built that. Tom Stevens out here used to be in the business, and he built that. That wound up being 2 stories high. That's this picture was done before that. There's another story on there, and then we went all out. Father, just before he died, his ambition was always to build it. He says just a bunch of junk, the buildings. So he went to work, and he put that building up and spent a good deal of his money on that, and it was a real good solid building, and it was built out of concrete block, and that was, I can tell you almost the years. It grew up, it evolved.
Yeah.
And but he started with that small first part there, and then he tried a lot of things. He didn't know he had to do something for employment if he wasn't going to do sawmilling.
Yeah.
So he started to make when he first built that, he started to make hand sleighs, kinds of little to pull around. He started making those, and he was selling them to the hardware stores around Orillia, and he was doing a fair business of selling them. But I mean, that's not a very big market.
Yeah.
So he made a bunch of them, and he made a nice job of it. He got to making these fishermen's hand sleighs too.
Yeah.
But you put a fish house on it, towed it around. People wanted to do. They don't do it now, but that's the way they did it then. Pull it, and he made those, and then he got into. We got into a lot of things. We never got into welding until later on in life. So everything was cast iron when Dad started, and so we kept all the pattern makers around the place whittling out patterns.
Yeah.
And as we got a little bit bigger and hired more people, one thing and another.
And how long, when did you move from this building to another building at all? Or
No, we just kept building onto it.
Okay. And is there any part of it still there?
Well, I sold it to a developer. We used to sell an awful lot of second-hand stuff too.
And machinery or?
All machinery, yeah. We never got much away from machinery because Dad understood it, and he just stated one thing. We started out building after the war. You couldn't buy anything hardly, and we started making what they call an edger. An edger in a sawmill is after you cut the log, and you slice it off, you've got 2 edges left. So then you had to push it through the next machine, which was an edger. You just couldn't buy edgers, so Dad says, "Well, we can't buy them, we'll make them." So we started making them. We built 179 edgers, and we used to sell them for about $600 or $100, and we got the last ones we sold them for about $15,000 or something.
It says in here that he invented an ice cutter.
He used to go at the lake here to saw the squares of
Ice.
everywhere. Yeah. So anyway, you do it. You had a big log saw and you sawed the ice. And it's freezing cold, wet job. It was terrible. But the Sargent Company, of course, Dad was. They came to him one day and they said, "Is there anything in the world you could do to do something power driven?" So once we sold Sargent's one, we had it made. everybody in the country wanted one. He built a frameworks with a sort of just like an ordinary, great big sleigh underneath the thing, and he put a Ford automobile engine in it. This person he built, he just used a second-hand engine in it to get the feel of the thing, how he's going to do it. And he put the whole thing was this rear end that was so hard to do. And Dad had to figure out how to, where you drive your wheels to the back, he figured out how to shorten it up and put a saw blade on it, just like almost like a wood saw blade. He put that thing on. And then, of course, he gets to hear people, anybody selling it, they're out to see you. And the traveler came in from the Henry Diston Company, they're out in business in Toronto now. I guess they're a big company. But they came in and they said to him, well, he was telling them what he wanted to do, and he said, I want to get this thing self-propelled. So the guy could just walk around and, just let it cut, just keep control of it, just walk slowly beside it while it's cutting ice. The guy said, well, we can make a controlled heel saw blade. He says, that's not hard to do, and that would do that. So they started making this saw blade for him. They made the first one. I don't know what it cost them to make it, but they made the first saw blade for him. They were dying to get into this thing too. I guess they saw some possibility in it. And we started with that one, and the Sargent Company thought it was just the greatest. And what Sargent's heard about it, of course, stuff spreads, and the Canadian National Railways heard about it. And they ordered 5 or 6 of them. We thought, mass production. We got right into it. We got too carried away, actually. We built the last 5 or 6 we made, we had them stored for 20 years, so it wasn't a good idea.
So they would use that ice in ice boxes and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Everybody had an old ice box. And then sergeants came around the door for 25 cents. They walked in, they go up to our porch up there. They come in with a great big pair of tongs, and the guy would be slugging it up and dropping it in the top of the ice box. But somebody went and invented the refrigerator. Well, it had been invented, but it wasn't not many people had it unless you're pretty rich.
Yeah.
So the refrigerator really knocked that one right out.
Sure.
People in our line of business, I wouldn't know that there weren't any more trees. I didn't see the trees disappearing. There were no more trees, and all my competitors were quitting business. And they were coming to me and wanting me to buy them out, and I didn't have money. So they'd come along and they'd say, come on over, take a look at it. I said, I don't want to buy it. I can't afford it. Come and look at it. And I guess they were going through, we went through later, is trying to get rid of this stuff. Who wants to buy it? It's specialized.
Yeah.
And it was a sunset business, and I didn't realize it at that time. Because people were quitting buying lumber the way the great big mills are making it all. And the small little mills, there were 6 mills already at that time, sawmills right around here.
Yeah.
And I can remember them well. You know what I used to do? That big saw blade in a sawmill would get, after a while after you use it, it had to be hammered. With a hammer.
To get it back into shape.
You had to restore the tension to it. Because it'd get like this, So you had to have an expert doing it. So the Pedwell's down there had a man down there steady. So what we do is we get him to come up at nights, and we take in people's saw blades. They're glad to get this done. We take the saw blade in. And Father thought it was easier than paying me. He used to, when I was going to school, he used to give me all that was in it. He'd say, I'd say to people, leave the blade in, and we'd do it on Saturday, or we'd do it at night or something, whatever they needed. And we do that. We charge him 10 cents an inch in it, $5 to plane that, to do that. It was about 100 now.
Yeah.
But I would hold the blade. The blade had to be held. I put the blade flat on an anvil with a curved top on it, and you'd pull it back and forth where he told you. He'd lay it all out. He knew what he was doing. He'd chalk mark it out, every third tooth, or he'd see how fast you want to run this thing, and he knew what to do. And he would take it, and I would hold the way, and he'd be hammering at the edge there, and I'm holding this back there, and of course I'm making about 50 cents an hour, so I thought this was pretty good. So I'd hold all the saws they'd bring in, and they'd hammer these saws, and I used to do a lot of that, and Dad would come out and make sure I was doing it right, I guess, and I used to think I was rich, so when I was making far more money than the other kids were making around, and I was making just all I was doing didn't take any brains, except if you ever let it down and didn't let it just on the right level to touch, and he brought that hammer down, and then you take the hands off, the vibration.
Oh, yeah.
But that was, That's going to do the. That's got a lot to do with the machinery business. I'm trying to think of when Dad really got it. He really got into the sawmill manufacturing back probably after the war, after Max came home. Max was over in England during the war most of the time.
When you're talking about a sawmill, you're talking about something that's portable, right? Yeah. Or you're
Not
talking about a structure.
But not the building or anything.
No, but
Just the contents.
machinery.
I don't think we ever put any buildings up for anybody.
Oh, okay. So you'd sell the machinery. Okay.
Machinery for that.
Right. So what did you do? What was your job? For most of the time.
My hand would get tired signing checks. I sat in the office, and I think most of those guys out there thought I was just sat in my fanny in the office, but I was either chasing up stuff that we'd sent out. There was something wrong with it, and you have to go send 2P and 2 or 3. But we got built this big stuff, and it got me into thousands and thousands of dollars. Those guys phone you up. They didn't say, "Oh, by the way, we're having a little trouble with the machine." They would say, "You crazy nuts! You don't know how to make this." You know how they get? They're mad. When people are mad, and we've paid you $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000, and this thing won't cut a board straight or won't cut it the right thickness. But no, it was. I guess we made a living out of it. I don't think we ever made any money. The only money I ever knew I had was when we sold land here and got done. That was whatever I had. That wasn't too much, but anyway.
Did the company make any? Did it make stuff other than saws or saw machinery?
Not on the saws themselves. We couldn't make a saw.
Okay.
Because that's a whole thing.
Whole different things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did the teeth for it.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know. We just bought them and sold them. We got to be distributor for Simon's Kansas Saw Company in Toronto, and we get all the north from Newmarket up north. And I wish that some of it I'd never seen, but some of these guys weren't very good on the paying. We had 500,000 feet of lumber sitting on along where these 3 houses are here.
Really?
After Dad, 1929, my dad was pretty long in the head too. He got all done up there, they called Makwa. It was a place up, it wasn't anything. You had to take a train to get in. But he had a big mill up there, and he had 15, 20 men working there in that place. But nobody wanted to work there because it's nothing but mosquitoes and stuff. Now there's another thing Dad made was this. Dad said he reasoned that in the bottom of that lake there was all kinds of logs, and everybody knew it for some reason. Yeah. And back in those days, they just left them there. But if you leave logs in a lake, they don't deteriorate like I thought they do.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The bugs don't get them. And so he thought if you just get it, so they used to go out in a boat and spear the logs as best they could and trail them around. That's too slow for Dad. He came back down to the shop here, and they went at it, and they built this. I think he called it Leaning Lena. Mm-hmm. He built this thing, and it was almost like an ice cutter or anything else like that. It splashed water around, and they could sailing down the lake with this thing, spear the logs and trail them off. And I mean, they were just bringing these logs in like crazy. Now you couldn't let them sit on the land too long either. You had to get them dried out and get them cut.
Yeah, they take a fair bit of drying out because they be waterlogged, right?
They're waterlogged, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after we got into the manufacturing business, everybody was getting the same idea. It was a great idea. They knew there was lots of logs because there weren't any trees anymore, but there's lots in the bottom of the lakes around us. Yeah. And in the old days, if you lost the log, they weren't going to bother looking for it. They'd just go and cut another tree down.
So essentially, you did the ice cutter and an automobile governor.
Oh, there's another thing. This automobile governor, old car engines make a good power plant, but you got to control the power.
Right, yeah.
And Dad made this thing, and it was, I wouldn't say he invented it, but he made it. And it was his idea, but I think that somebody else must have made them before. We made 200 of those and sold them. That's as far as that one got. But it was a lot of work making them up. He had to do a lot of tooling up for that one. But we were selling those things all over the country. But, maybe you sell 10 in Orillia and 10 somewhere else. It isn't that big a demand for it. That was the trouble with that business. There wasn't, like sawmills, there were less and less people wanting sawmills.
Yeah.
Then I see he started making a version of a snowblower.
Oh, yeah.
But he never did anything about it.
Back after he was first married, he came up with an idea for getting snow. It was too much work moving it. He made a small model of a snowblower, and it was that storage place up there. I said to him one day, "What's that?" Always just for blowing snow. I never got around doing anything with it.
Did he actually have it working for himself?
Oh, it would work on a small scale, yeah. But he just, I mean, it wasn't a full-size thing. He just wanted to make sure he could move snow with it.
That it would
It did it. I mean, you suck the snow up and it goes.
So when would you have wound the company up?
In 1988, I sold the property. 1987, I sold the property with a stipulation I wanted a year to get out because we had tons of machinery and it was taking a long time to get rid of it.
So when did you start to notice the decline in business for the sort of sawmill
Well,
trade?
you know, the funny part was we were doing a better business and the more people that quit, we were doing more business. All our customers were coming to me, they didn't know where else to go.
Right.
And we thought we were doing a wonderful business. We pick up all this. We picked up all the Walter Green customers. We picked all the Bracebridge customers, all the people in that area. And over at Penetang there was who was over in Penetang? But we got the customers because they still had to buy stuff somewhere. And we, for quite a few years after that, we were doing okay at it. We got into more and more into retail business. Those teeth on the sawmills for that you couldn't buy them only from a distributor, and we were the only distributor in this end. And so until it got a little tight, and then Simon decided to cut me off at. They cut me off at up north of Orillia somewhere here. No, maybe it was North Bay. And I mean that just about freaked me up for selling. And there was nothing to stop you selling, but I mean as far as being a distributor for them was concerned, because they were trying to get another guy up from up north there to handle all that stuff.
So your customers were sawmills generally.
So you don't.
You might as well say, well, and the farmers around. They always bought flat belly and all that kind of stuff. And we had a lot of retail business and just in the manufacturing. But in the end, we were exporting the stupid stuff down to South America or to Africa. Down in the Caribbean, we sold a lot of stuff down there. I got into the export business. At first, I didn't know what to do. How do you export in?
Yeah.
And then I find out afterwards, if only I'd looked into it better, the government was helping people. The millionaire companies were getting the government to help them, big grants and stuff. Did get one. What was another thing we made? There are we call it a firewood machine. What it did was it trimmed up all the junk stuff that's left from the sawmill, you might say. That wood, they'd come off 20 feet long and it's just a slab. Well, I guess the hand did it or did. I don't. They did have. No, I didn't know by hand. They had machines in the mill, but this is a better way. They let the mills would just throw the stuff out in the backyard. And somebody come along and with a machine like this was portable. It was right on wheels and with a truck on it. And they drive right up the thing and cut all this up into wood segments. Well, we made the first in Canada. The government even knows that. I remember they gave us a grant of $7,000. It's the only time we got anybody giving to me in my life, I think. The government gave us a $7,000 grant. Another thing we started to make was vices. We tried to make bench vices. That was our big mistake. We spent thousands of dollars getting into it and found out that everybody else was making vices. And the only way to compete was to cut the price. We cut the price so much that we were selling them for less. We're selling them for less than it was.
So you need to make them.
So we're just trying different things, that was all.
So what was your best-selling item over the years? Your best-selling product?
You mean of stuff we made?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess just all the sawmill machines. People would come in there, they didn't all buy a sawmill.
So how many people did the company employ at the height?
Most I ever paid in 1 week was 15.
15? Yeah.
But I mean, that was exceptional. In the summertime, you get a lot more. Spring and summer, right? Started about April, they started to get busy. People started thinking what they're going to do. And it started to get busy. Then wintertime was dead. I don't know. We had to keep everybody around still. We never thought, you never laid people off in those days. You always kept people around doing something, fixing up stuff, putting inventory. We rebuild our own machines that we own laying around.
So, like in the winter when you didn't need so many people, why did you keep on the people you didn't need?
Well, we had a lot of machinery we'd take in or something on trade-ins and that. And, it all needed to be rebuilt, so we put them at rebuilding this stuff.
Oh, I see.
We rebuilt a lot of stuff. Then we get rebuilt, we paint it and fix it all up. Just it was good as new practically.
Yeah.
And shove it in storage, you know. And we figure we sell sometime next summer or some summer. It was interesting anyway. I've come through a few of the things I've come through. Boy, oh boy, between losing the money and figuring how it all worked out good. If you told me in 1988 that I'd ever have 5 cents, I would have laughed. And Charlie knows I have no money anyway.
Yeah, right.